Hey guys. Okay, so I'm going to try to bring Jeff Shipley on this way. The nightmare of all nightmares happened with my computer. I have a remote I have a remote like computer upgrading system, and something just rebooted and restarted like in the middle of me doing this live, right as I was hitting live. So let me see if I can bring him on in here with us. Guest request. Allow your viewers. Okay, so Jeff, I just went ahead and allowed you to request to come on. So I hope that you do. Let me see what my comments are giving me. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I cannot wait to get this interview done and to get Jeff on here. Welcome to another Facebook Live Health Freedom Iowa evening. I'm sure hoping that I'll be able to get him on. Choose how you go live. Ooh, I have a mystery mask I could put on. That might be fun. I kind of want to hide my face after having like computer technical difficulties tonight. Let me see if I cannot get him on right now. Let me see my viewers. If I'm not able to get him on with this, then what I might do is just do a Zoom call with him and then replay it back. That might be the easiest way for us to do that, to record the Zoom call and do that. So I'm hoping I'll be able to do that. In store tonight, what we were wanting to talk about are the mask mandates. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Let me see. Oh, there he is. And for some reason it says I cannot add you. I am totally trying to. It says that your viewers have to request you to join as a guest in your broadcast. And I'm working on that. And I don't know that there's a button that I can add you in on here. So hi, Ashley. Thank you for joining tonight. I really appreciate you tuning in. It's been a pleasure getting to talk to you and getting to know you. So thank you so much. I am here. Okay. Got 7 of you, 8 of you on right now. Do you guys have any questions for Jeff? Let's just start getting kind of a backlog of questions while we are doing this. That would be fantastic. I would love to see what you've got to share tonight. There we are. Hey, Jeff Shipley.
Hey, Joni, great to be with you. I'm glad we figured out the internet.
Thank you. Me too. The internet of, full of surprises and technology issues, can't go wrong there.
They don't make it easy on us always, but I'm glad we can join you tonight, and it's great to be with your audience, and it's worth the wait. So
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Now, you've been in office since January of 2019, and of course, you are up for re-election. So if you guys are in Van Buren County, correct? District 82?
District 82, which is Van Buren and Davis County on the Missouri border, and then the city of Fairfield and most of Jefferson County. So yeah, the best part of Iowa.
Great. Yeah, it's beautiful up there. I really do love Fairfield. That's where I go for a lot of little getaways here and there. I love the coffee shop that they have there, where you perform sometimes.
Cafe Paradiso is a wonderful gem in the Fairfield community, and one of the things that people fall in love with is we have, you can put the cream from the local organic dairy, you're able to use that in your coffee. And so the local organic milk products, although they have almond milk if you're interested. Anyway, so a lot of great local organic products, and makes the town really special. And yeah, it's delightful. So that's one of the things I fell in love in that when I first moved down there, all the delicious restaurants where people are making good, healthy, nutritious food, just as a matter of fact. Yeah, so wonderful. Everyone should come down and visit.
That is why it's one of my favorite getaways, because I know the food I'm going to be eating is safe. I know I have, lots of plant-based options there. No GMOs are a standard there for a lot of places. And, I wanted to thank you because you were single-handedly the one politician that broke me out of like the advocacy activist hiatus that I was on. When I saw you willing to put it all out there, talking about organic food and non-GMO and no mandates for vaccines, I just was like, Okay, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in. I moved to Iowa, and then I learned about you were like the one politician that I could stand behind with my heart, and I just went, okay, I'm diving in. So thank you for being that, because it's really opened up a whole new world of what activism and advocacy and taking charge of our health freedoms really means.
Well, I just want to, one, say thank you for that acknowledgement and those very kind, encouraging words. They do mean a lot. And just say right back at you that everything I've done has only been made possible essentially standing on the shoulders of everyone who's come before me. So, I've been, for instance, interested in the vaccine issue, trying to learn everything I've could since I've been learning about it over the years, mostly since taking office. And realizing, oh, there's people that have put decades and decades into it, and thankfully they've written this book that now I can pick up and read and continue the fight forward. So it really, I love being a part of it, and it, again, just all the gratitude goes to, it's definitely a team effort, and nothing that I've done would be possible if it weren't for all the people like you who've been interested in these subjects, who've been raising the alarms over the decades. Like I said, I mean, some of these controversies, people have been talking about for many, many years, and thankfully we're just able to kind of keep the conversation alive in the Iowa House of Representatives.
Yeah, and thank you for your hard work on that as well. I mean, it's really important that we educate our legislators, which is why Health Freedom Iowa exists. It's an educational forum, and to educate our legislators on why we hold our health freedoms so near and dear, why we don't want vaccine mandates, why we don't want fluoride in our water, and why understanding what 5G cell towers all over everywhere could do, and the health implications. So thank you for listening to the people and really hearing
Well,
out
but again,
what.
like you have this thing of thanking me. So, for instance, like on the 5G issue, all I ever did was just repeat the concerns that constituents provided to me. So it's
Yeah.
literally, don't thank Jeff Shipley, state representative. Thank the people in District 82 who, one, wrote these things. Hey, hey, Jeff, take a look at this. Or here's this article. Here's some talking points. Here's some great questions. So again, all the credit goes to the people of Fairfield and rural Iowa, my constituents who are willing to ask these big questions of government and the regulators and these industries and these revolving doors. And there's something else you touched on too. The water fluoridation. So that's been a really fun subject too. And like one of my first political activities was learning about water fluoride. I had a bone break, and I had some metal screws and a plate in my right arm. And after that skeletal issue and the kind of pain that I had is when I started learning about additives in the water and things that could affect someone's skeleton. And so it's fun to me to think back of like 2009, 2010 when I was first learning about how to be critical of CDC recommendations or how to challenge the science of these much vaulted health authorities and that sort of stuff. So so that's been funny to kind of recollect on the whole coronavirus and the key questions. Like, well, hey, I've been challenging health authorities for a long time, so I'm glad I finally, get to put this to work. And it just, again, like I mentioned before, feels the culmination of a lot of effort and how all these issues are related as
Yeah.
well. So.
Well, with thanking you, it's because I think so many of us have reached out to our politicians and our legislators in our district, and we don't feel heard. We don't
Oh
feel,
yeah.
acknowledged, and we don't
Yeah, those guys suck.
well, we don't think that they would, really truly represent our concerns. It's like we get kind of the standard letter back in our email, and then nothing happens to it. Or we want to stand up for a bill, against, any kind of mandates, and it goes unheard and ignored. Now, we do have a bunch of questions for you already in the comments. Lakeisha Hoyle says, if Governor Reynolds doesn't mandate them for Iowa, meaning the masks as a whole, can each county mandate them against her call?
No, they can't do that. So the Attorney General and the Governor's office has been very clear that there's no authority for local governments on that issue. In my reading of the emergency powers, I mean, it's really unclear if the Governor even has the authority to make such a mask mandate, especially when there's not, say, rock solid science or evidence behind it, or certainly not when there's declining coronavirus activity in the state. So that's even been something in the other states with the more tyrannical governors, Gretchen Whitmer, because they did have a lot of pushback from local sheriffs in some of those states saying, hey, no, these decrees are not actual enforceable laws. And so that's been, at least in those instances, seeing the local government push back against state decrees in a positive way, in a pro-health freedom way. But no, as far as my understanding of the Iowa law is concerned, local governments do not have the authority to do that. And the ones who've tried have admitted that it's mostly symbolic gesturing in terms of, say, encouraging people to do that. So that's my understanding of the law.
That's good. Thank you. I know that's going to bring a lot of clarity for a lot of people. So Katie says, schools that require children to wear something on their face, how do we send them to school without anything and keep them safe from being bullied by the schools while we are not there?
So that's, again, a really great question. And part of this whole thing with the pandemic response is you're putting a lot of things in law or policy where authority is unclear, where we're kind of moving from, constitutional republic, legal procedures, to. So as I mentioned before, it's not like that local governments don't have the authority to mandate masks, and it's unclear if the state has the authority. I mean, people have questioned that too. Like, under what authority are school districts implementing these health policies? I mean, that's a whole different kind of area of law to govern. But I mean, it's an extremely difficult situation, and there's going to be no easy answer. And there's no answer, so like that's like the first thing. Okay, well, hey, challenge the validity of their authority to even do such a thing. But it's like, okay, well, who's really capable of drafting up a legal challenge to their local school district? Who has the money to retain an attorney to even figure out what these laws mean? That is kind of the most difficult challenge of the job as legislator, is figuring out how the law works. For instance, in my local school district, I'm working on appealing a decision they made on their return to learn plan, and just learning about how the appeal process to the State Board of Education works, and reading those laws. It's a lot of work, especially for lay people, and I'm not an attorney. So I don't have an easy answer on that, except for, I don't know, if you can take the kid out of the school, because I mean, I think wearing the mask, I wouldn't want my kid to do it. I'll just put it that way. And let me just take a moment. I got to figure out how to share this stream onto my page to maybe get some more viewers on here, and hopefully get the conversation even.
We've got some more questions rolling in, so let me know when you're ready.
Well, again, it's just figuring out how to work these dang Facebook. So I'm pushing the share button, and it says I could write a post is what I should do.
Yeah, join me now.
Okay, so I have two Facebook profiles. I have the one, my personal, with the wiener dog, and
and then you have your state legislator one. Yeah.
Wait, now I hear you twice now. I hear something in the background. I just screwed up the whole call by trying to do this. I swear.
I don't, I'm not hearing anything. I don't have any feedback. Oh, so maybe I don't think we're going live twice, but.
Did you hear that?
I didn't.
This is screwy. This is totally screwy.
Do you want me to? Yeah. It's screwy. We can't have screwy tonight. We've already had enough. We've had so much fun and so much screwy this evening on this live. It's kind of crazy, but I'm going to try to add Jeff right back and see if I can get him on here. All right. I don't see him, but that's okay. We'll get more. Lakeisha, we will get to your religious exemption conversation. I know. Thank you, Yvonne. Thanks for joining. I know you don't have any echoes there, so that's good. It might just be in his headphones all of a sudden. Come heck or high water, Iowans, we will prevail. We will be talking to Jeff Shipley here when he joins us again in a moment. I know he's probably just logging off really quickly here to share and trying to join again. Here you are. All right. I'm not sure how I can add you all of a sudden again. You're still able to join. Let me see here. For some reason, it's not catching on to you with the add button on this. Let me check my comments and see if I can get a hold of you again. If you're requesting it, I have Ashley and Yvonne and Melissa and Lakeisha, which says I can add, and then I don't have Jeff. And that's okay. We will get you back on here one way or another, friend. I promise. Trying to. Do you have that ad feature off again, like we did the last time? All right. Let me see here. Turn that off and turn that back on again. This is so fun. So, the difference in, if you notice, I don't have my Health Freedom Iowa logo on behind me because I am now at my house instead of Erica's, and Erica says hello. And here we are again with Jeff. And she says hello to Jeff.
All right, we're figuring it out.
Hey, learning as we go. Life's a dance, right? Looks like
Flexibility. This is exactly why we practice yoga, so we can be flexible when these obstacles come up.
And it's 2020. And it's 2020. So we have some more comments here I have another question from Lakeisha. She asked about religious exemptions for our children. Are masks covered under that in school? It said in small print that religious reasons were acceptable, so one would think it would be covered.
Wow, that's a great question. And again, I wish I had more of a legal background. I should have gone to law school. So my understanding, the code that specifies the religious exemption is specific to the childhood required immunization schedule. So the last time I read the law, it wouldn't be squarely applicable to the mask because the mask is not a childhood immunization. But I say go for it, and I think definitely, especially with some of the messages I've been seeing on people criticizing the masks, I definitely say it's a religious thing. That was the brilliant argument that Representative Nino Vitale from the state of Ohio, I loved his talking about just, how the beautiful human face is, and we're all created in the image and likeness of God, and part of that is in our face, and just the smiling at another human being as a religious experience that this policy would deny. So yeah, go ahead and exert a religious exemption, and yeah, that's basically what we need to do, no matter what the law says, is we need to stand up for ourselves and speak unequivocally and clearly and forthrightly on what we're willing to tolerate and what we view as acceptable to our children. And the battle is in the public schools because that's where all the tax money is centralized. And yeah, we need to stand up to ourselves. That's what we're doing here in Fairfield. Is there's a bunch of angry parents who are begging to be heard by their school district and figuring out how to exert those political levers to make these our elected officials do what we want them to do, which isn't much. We're just asking them to respect our freedom, and it should be as simple as that. Yeah, I don't know. Good luck with that, but that's a noble thing, and for any parent who loves their kid enough to stand up for their right to their religious freedom to show their beautiful face, I definitely commend. And yeah, good luck. Let us know how it goes.
Well, we also know that it is a matter of public health because this is an experiment. OSHA suspended all of their guidelines in order to have people have like a health test to see if they were even good candidates to wear a mask for so many hours per day. And since that got suspended, it's like they're just throwing masks on everyone, liability free. And one size does not fit all, and one size does not fit everyone. Health is bio-individual, and not everyone can wear masks, whether it's a health issue, an emotional issue, a disability, so yeah, I agree.
Well, there's a couple of things. Yeah, you need to go for it. We need to stand up for ourselves and use our voice, but almost if we're arguing masks, we're still losing because if you look at the coronavirus, we have therapeutics, we have hydroxychloroquine, we have steroids, we have vitamin C, vitamin D. The COVID patients, including children and older adults I've talked to, thank God it's been something they've been able to manage and survive. And yeah, it can be a nasty flu. Certainly if you're in a nursing home. If you have a immune condition, if you're taking immune suppressing drugs because maybe you're a chemotherapy patient, then yeah, there's a plausible instance to wear a mask. But given what we know with this virus, where there's existing therapeutics, where the hospitalization rate is low, where the infection fatality rate is very low, I like how do we attack these policies at the root, right? How do we take the chainsaw to the root and uproot all this nonsense? So it's like, because I mean, certainly there is a debate between the efficacy of masks and the existing research that existed prior to the pandemic versus what health authorities are saying now, like there is a very fascinating debate on what all that science says, but it's pointless when you consider that we don't need to be afraid of this virus in the first place. So that's really the political challenge or the political rhetorical kind of skill or tactic is, okay, how do we advance our arguments in the most holistic way to get the respect we deserve as human beings? And it is challenging because, again, everything is such a little mental trap. And this mask stuff is, clearly a divide and conquer technique to just make the American people groan at each other rather than directing their anger at the true tyrants pulling the strings. And so that's the thing, is how do we get out of these little quicksand traps? And it's extremely tough because that's what we're seeing now is these communist totalitarians pushing their misguided health theories in every single aspect of our lives. And the controlling the children and controlling the education is definitely chief among them. So, yeah, that's kind of how I see things.
Well, did you happen to catch, of course, we talked about Biden and Harris and their, first real big talk together about national mask mandates and what are your thoughts on, I mean, obviously we know we're not for any mandates, but I know that we know where they're going with that. There seems to be a much larger agenda with that.
Yeah, so Biden and Harris, they're a gruesome twosome. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about those guys. I mean, God bless the Democratic Party, and they're so amazing that we have such high caliber leaders that we can put forth for the public to consider. On the mask mandate, again, where do they feel they derive this constitutional authority? So they're clearly overstepping. And again, it's assuming this is so crazy. This is how I don't understand how this narrative got so out of control, where it went from 15 days to slow the spread to mask mandate coming January 2021, no matter what. So it's extremely creepy, and I guess this is the big question. So how are they going to enforce this thing? And assuming they get states to go along with them, and assume that somehow it's rendered legally, whatever. Each individual is going to have to take a hard look in the mirror and say, what am I going to do? Am I going to sacrifice my soul? Am I going to conform to this that I know is not true, that I know is meaningless? Like what people are going to have to make a decision. And I mean, what is the enforcement mechanism? Is it not wearing a mask? Is that going to deny you entry to a place? Like an airport, which is already happening? Or is there going to be a criminal penalty? And this is a civil rights struggle. This is a struggle for our basic human dignity and our sacred medical freedom. You look at actual civil disobedience campaigns. Are we willing to clog up the jail system and the court system with our refusal to go along with these inhumane medical dictates? And that's the question. What are we going to be willing to sacrifice? And when you look at the brave men and women and activists who've confronted injustices in the past, which our country has a very rich history of, from Martin Luther King to the abolitionist movement, right down to the founding fathers. What's it going to take? What are you willing to sacrifice in your life for freedom? And are you willing to stand up to these tyrants? Are you willing to speak out? That's been, I think, the biggest thing too, is so many people who have, and that's the thing, maybe they're only 75 or 80% sure, so they still have that kind of nagging, like, oh, well, the other side could be right. Maybe my opinion does put a bunch of people in risk. So it's like having the resolution, the resolve, the confidence to speak clearly and confidently and put your foot down and have that line in the sand. That's what we need. We need mental, spiritual fortitude on what are we willing to accept as people, and what are we willing to sacrifice, and what are we willing to die for? I mean, what's the point of living life if we're going to be these, this servitude, indentured servants to Google, Facebook, Amazon, and the bankrupt American corporation? I mean, I don't know. I know I'm speaking in very blunt, harsh terms, but the spiritual work, the inner work, I mean, confronting the demons that are running amok right now, we all need to be looking inside ourselves and figuring out what are we going to do when that situation comes. And God willing, it doesn't happen, but we need to be prepared.
Yeah, I think, how I've explained it to a lot of people is to make sure that we stay out of fear, because we don't make really great decisions once we start entering fear, but maintaining our own sovereignty, understanding that it is your right to breathe the oxygen and the air. That's an unalienable right.
that we have to breathe clean air and have access to clean water and to have access to clean food. Those are just the basics of being human here. And so, just standing in your sovereignty, we don't owe, and you don't really owe anybody an explanation as to why you don't want to wear a mask or what your belief system is. We don't have to get into a space where we can allow them to gaslight us or twist your words around or make you feel like you're selfish human being. But no means
So
no.
that's the sinister aspect of this is
It is.
so that's the thing is you're there. This is how, again, like the karmic implication of a free will universe. So these are people voluntarily surrendering their sovereignty, and like you said, they're voluntarily giving their right to breathe free clean air, which is their birthright on this earth, that every human being born on this planet should have the right to fill their lungs with sweet, clean, free oxygen. And these people are robbing themselves of that right, and they're voluntarily signing their sovereignty over to these other entities, these other governments, these other corporations. And that's the big thing with the vaccine mandate is once you give up the power to decide for yourself any of these questions, you don't get that back. I mean, once this genie is out of the bottle and you give your sovereignty up to these institutions, which certainly don't have your health and welfare as number one priority. I mean, the corporate earnings are much more important to Merck and GlaxoSmithKline and Alliant Energy and anyone else for that matter. Certainly,
AstraZeneca, who just got granted liability free as well, for the
oh,
coronavirus.
we don't. That's the thing. Oh, this thing. Oh, we don't know if it's going to cause serious immune disorders in 4 years. So we need to be immune from liability. But
Yeah.
everyone has to take it. You
Yeah.
know, they're literally making those arguments simultaneously, and that is science fiction dystopia, and people are going along with it. And as long as that segment of the population, I don't know, maybe it's 10, 15% of the population that has locked themselves into a psychological prison, that they're not going to let themselves out until the pharma CEOs and who run the media say it's okay to come out of your shell. Hey, it's okay to be healthy again. This is the thing. These corporations tell us we're sick. I just spit on the camera. These corporations tell us we're sick so they can sell our health back to us. That's what this is it's a psychological manipulation to extract as much energy from us as possible. And yeah, so like you said, consciously affirming our health, that, yeah, I am healthy. I don't need NBC to tell me that I'm healthy. And this is I'm trying to figure out how to make this joke. It's like, you have to wear a mask because how do you know you're not transmitting the illness? The same way when I go to the airport that I know I'm not a terrorist, right? Because it's who I am. I'm a healthy human being, and I'm not going to stoop to your stupid charade of, I'm not going to subconsciously program myself as some transmitter of disease. I refuse to do that because I have too much respect for myself as a human being. Oh my gosh, Dr. Bob Zajac, the hero of
Yes,
Minnesota?
Dr. Bob
What
joined
the
us for
heck?
our lives.
Oh my God! Oh wow, Bob's.
He's
He's one of those
awesome.
guys. He's one of those guys I was talking about, of like those heroes that
Yeah.
make everything I do possible. Wow, what a guy!
Yeah, Dr. Bob, hey, he's gonna comment. He's commented here.
I
Several,
squealed. I squealed.
yeah. you fangirl, you fanboyed. Hold on.
Ah!
Several patients have asked Dr. Bob, with our hope rapidly fading here in Minnesota, which would be safer for medical freedom, South Dakota or Iowa, how certain or likely that Iowa will be able to sustain options for medical freedom? That's one of my questions for you. Like, yeah. Thanks,
Wait, Dr.
Dr.
Bob
Bob.
said that? No, who said
Yeah,
that?
Dr. Bob just said that. You want me to read it
Well,
again?
don't give up on Minnesota. I mean, yeah, you guys are screwed, and I don't
I
know
feel
how
like
many more
screwed.
women Keith Ellison are gonna have to beat up, but I don't know. I hope medical freedom can prevail across the board. And then again, who's going to enforce this crazy stuff? I mean, I don't know. They had the door-to-door vaccination campaign in Samoa or whatever, but like, I don't know who. I guess it's too dark to even think about. But yeah, I think. Well, and that's the other thing. Is it going to be the state governments? Like, okay, so sure, New York, New Jersey, and California and Illinois are going to do the craziest thing imaginable. But is the state of Iowa going to do it, or is it going to be the airlines, that's going to do it, or is it going to be the? Well, thankfully, Walmart, I guess, relaxed themselves a little bit. But I mean, as far as like the vaccine requirements, it's probably going to be the universities first, right? It's probably going to be like the universities, and then maybe they'll try to do it in K through 12 education. I think someone said, oh, the coronavirus vaccine needs to be given at birth, so they'll. I don't know what kind of insidious way they're going to do this. They're going to bring something to market. It doesn't matter if it's safe. Doesn't matter if it's effective. None of those things matter. What matters is that you have 10% of the population not willing to go back to life until pharma blesses them with this vaccine, this permission slip to live in less fear or something. So yeah, it's going to be insidious. I don't think it's going to be the state of Iowa. I think that's been one of the benefits on why Governor Reynolds, her leadership has been, I think, pretty solid in the last 3 months, is because she knows if she does something, if she oversteps her authority, it's going to fracture the Republican ruling majority. I mean, you only have a 53-47 margin in the House, and who knows what the but like that's the thing is if they anyway. So I don't know the political theories behind that. Certainly, South Dakota is leading the nation. Hopefully, Iowa is leading the nation behind South Dakota. I don't know if that's true or not, but I want Iowa to be up there. I think we should have a wonderful tradition of medical freedom. Don't give up on Minnesota. Fight to the death, and stand your ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the best I got.
Well, Dr. Bob's been just such a leader in speaking out and speaking up and helping parents understand.
We have a term for that. We have a term for that. We call them public health heroes.
Public health heroes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Dr. Bob, thank you for joining us tonight. Stay here, please, and keep asking questions. Don't leave us yet.
Yeah.
But, I really have a lot of stake in Iowa in the aspect that we are going to keep our access to, health and medical freedoms. I know it's something that a lot of parents are worried about, especially in Illinois with everything going on over there. We've got people jumping ship over here, which is great. But what do you, I think that's everyone's question. Where do you see Iowa going as far as mask mandates and vaccine mandates are? Because it's hard for me not to drop some statistics and things that I'm seeing coming down the pike with how many coronavirus vaccines are, right now about to go into manufacture or that are in manufacture. It's definitely on a federal agenda and worldwide agenda to make sure that everybody is vaccinated. And it really is up to us. So, what do you think Iowa's going to do?
Well, I think for the governor to reverse herself on masks would be political suicide, because then that'd basically admit that she was wrong up until this point, which is she's not. She's been right. I think she's been finding herself in a more difficult position than she needs to, because she's been trying to straddle the line a little bit more than she needs to, which again sends out mixed messages. So, I don't know, but so right now the state of Iowa, the law reads is they can have compulsory vaccinations in the state of a declared emergency, which we are under a declared emergency right now, still presently. The way the law reads is if you refuse a vaccination, you would be sent to quarantine, and then there's another code section which describes your legal rights in quarantine. It doesn't need to be that bad. I mean, we could probably set up a really cool quarantine area. I don't know. So it's all hypothetical, right? Because these vaccines don't exist. What was scary was in the Attorney General's explanation of when a mandatory vaccine order was he used the measles example, because we had a measles outbreak in 2019, I think 2 cases associated with some Jewish people up in Northeast Iowa. And then that's where we saw the mandatory vaccine in New York City was with the measles in those zip codes. And so it was weird. It was weird, the Attorney General's reasoning of measles as a justification illness for such a draconian measure, because the death toll of measles is non-existent. The therapeutic measles is, just vitamin A. I don't know when the last time there's been a measles fatality in Iowa. That's how much we don't know about measles. We don't even know the last time someone's died from it. So to me, that was extremely troubling to see the Attorney General use that as an example, because even if we did have, say, the worst measles outbreak imaginable of 10,000 cases, that would probably still amount to 0 fatalities. And then again, we know the vaccine has risks. So, and we do know that Iowa children have been awarded compensation from the vaccine court due to fatalities related to the MMR. So, yes. So that's the thing, is if you give these bureaucrats an inch, they'll take it. And we've seen it. There's been different personalities. So at the Department of Education, someone tried to say that, because this is how stupid they interpreted the law. Like, you really have to be You have to hate the public to interpret the law this way, in my opinion.
Okay.
And okay, so the way the code reads is that immunizations or the religious exemption wouldn't be applicable in a state of emergency. And so because we have a coronavirus emergency right now, some Department of Education bureaucrat interpreted that to mean that all the religious exemptions for all the childhood immunizations were off the table.
Oh.
So, oh my goodness, I got the echo going on right now.
Oh, do you?
Hold on, let me.
Yeah, you can.
I'll just talk over it.
Okay.
Wait. Do you hear that?
Yeah, but I don't know what that is.
I think it's because my phone came up and it said like 10% battery left, and I clicked it, and then all of a sudden the echo came. So I should report that bug to Facebook, and they should fix that.
Yeah, let's hope they don't ban us first.
Should I hop off and do it again? Do we know how to do that?
If you want to try again, there's some things that
Yeah, I don't want to talk over myself.
Okay.
Point, so.
Okay. All right. See you in a second. Okay, so I wanted to answer Megan's question when she asked if Menards can, if places like Menards can really mandate masks or turn your service down. So here's the thing. Okay, any private businesses they can do whatever they want. Okay, they can do whatever they feel is going to be safest for their employees, and we have to be willing to shop elsewhere. And we have to be willing to contact the businesses and let them know that they'll be losing business if they mandate these things. Or, the businesses a lot of times are really stuck between a rock and a hard place because they want to be doing let me go ahead and see if I can add Jeff again. They want to be doing the right thing, and it's they're really just unknown. There's never been a spread of misinformation or disinformation, or this duality, this polarity of people splitting. It's never been so polarized before. This is splitting up families. This is splitting up businesses, and this is a house divided doesn't stand. So I think that small businesses will do what they are being pressured to do. It's my understanding that insurance companies are, being pressured to not cover insurance for companies who do not follow mask mandates. I mean, and then a business can't operate without insurance coverage. So it's like they're really putting the squeeze on. And back to Governor Reynolds really quickly, switched on something. Like Jeff had said, we need to email our governor every week, every day, if you can. Let her know that she's got our support when it comes to avoiding mask mandates. It's so important. And like Erica and I talked about last week, what's your threshold? Where is the point where you decide now is the time to get involved? I must get involved. A lot of times we are stuck in this retroactive mindset, this reactionary mindset. And we wait until something bad happens before we go, wait a minute, you can't take my rights away. But by then that's too late. So I really want to encourage you to please continue to email the governor, email your legislators, let your voice be heard. No matter what, try to get in and get through them. You can watch our video from last week on Health Freedom Iowa. Let me see if Jeff will come back. He'll be back. I know that he will. Until then, let's talk a little bit more about schools. In my district, it was discovered that the school board did not even consult an attorney whether or not they could. Hey, here you are.
Okay, so I had to exit out of the app and then start over again. So I'm finally figuring out. We'll have to do this again, and we'll be much more competent then.
Yeah, we'll do it again. But this has been really great. This has been really good.
What were we talking about? We were talking about something really important, and then all of a sudden the thing started.
All right,
I
whoever
forgot what it
remembers
was.
what we were talking about, because I went on to answer other questions, and I went on to,
Okay, yeah. Nobody died of the measles.
nobody died of the
Take,
measles.
take vitamin A. I
Okay.
think that was it. I don't know.
That was
Maybe.
Oh, about religious exemptions with masks, and then also the
Oh,
mandate.
yeah. Okay. So this is what the bureaucrat. So this is what they did. Okay. So we have a declared emergency for coronavirus, and Iowa code says the religious exemption doesn't apply during a declared emergency. So this bureaucrat interpreted that to mean that the emergency negated all religious exemptions to all childhood immunization vaccines, which certainly makes no public health sense. Like there's no rational justification. Like you're really reading and stretching the law to put that out there. And that's how, I mean, just makes me angry. Again, being a calm, compassionate leader on a scale of 1 to 10, my anchor is always at a 0. But then when I hear a bureaucrat acting this way, it gets you anger up to 11, because literally, I mean, that's malevolent. That you're weaponizing the law. You're stretching it. I think it's color of law is the political term or whatever, where you're operating as if you have legal authority when there is no such legal authority.
Right.
So this was something that we, I think, crossed this bridge back in May. That was like, hey, what kind of idiot could possibly interpret the law in such an offensive way that deprives Iowans of their sacred religious exemption? We're going to require all these kids to have vaccines that are totally unrelated to coronavirus, and we're somehow going to call that health. So thankfully, about a week passed, and this person, I think they're still working for the agency, but it was clarified that no, okay, the law actually reads that religious exemption would still apply. And but anyway, so it was. So that's the whole thing. When going back to the Attorney General's explanation of using the measles as an example of a mandatory vaccine, and seeing how that whatever these career bureaucrats will clearly take any opportunity they can to move their agenda as far shamelessly without any consideration of what the law says. I mean, that's so disrespectful to the people of Iowa. The next example that happened more recently at the end of July was Federal Health and Human Services put out some new rules for foster parents. And right now, all foster kids, because they're property of the state, are required to be immunized. And the foster care rules that went out in July also said that other parents and the other kids in the foster household would also be required to be immunized. And supposedly there was no basis in federal law from that. Some DHS bureaucrat just tacked that on a whim, and then they waited for all the foster care people to get upset before they corrected it. So it's like, I don't know who these people are lurking in the dark corners of government, just waiting to take their opportunity to, spring forth and stick their vaccines into people. But that's kind of what we're seeing is like these bureaucrats are. So that happened in Iowa. Now, thankfully, we got it corrected, but it's like it took a week or two to get that ironed out. So as far as Iowa is concerned, be extremely vigilant. Stay connected with the governor's office, once a week, I would say, because that's how often these radical groups, like the Interfaith Alliance, some of these groups, like, because I've seen these people lobby at the Capitol, and it makes me kind of sick to my stomach because I've had conversations. I know what kind of people these are. They don't care about health. They're not healthy people, but they're the ones who want everyone to wear a mask to make them feel less anxious. So we need to be in touch with the governor's office. You need to be in touch with your state representative and state senators. And again, even if they don't get back to you, or even if they give you that BS canned response, just go ahead and shoot them another email and just keep that bug in their ear. Don't let up. Persistence. Maybe I'd say once a month at a minimum. And if your legislator deserves it, bother him more than that. I'd say the governor, just because her office is so important, be once a week, even if it's just say, hey, we're praying for you, or hey, thank God we live in a great state. Please keep it free. I don't know. The governor did seem to be very touched by that. The personal correspondence she received for certainly people saying they were praying for her. And that's the thing. Governor Reynolds, I mean, I think she's like legitimately like an Iowa girl who was able to rise through the political ranks for just being a very pleasant person who loves Iowa. And the responsibility thrown on her in the pandemic is again, these powers that how can one individual exercise these decisions for 3.5 million people, especially on things as sacred as religious freedom. And so the governor needs our support, and the governor is only going to be as strong as the people that are connected with her office. And the governor is only going to know what to do if you tell her to, right? The governor can only represent the people if the people are telling her how to represent. Going back to my original point when we started the call, the reason because I introduced a bill on water fluoride is because I had this guy named Bob who thought it was a great idea and told me to do it. I thought it was a great idea too, but it helped to have an actual constituent confirm that it was a great idea to run the bill on water fluoride. The vaccine information stuff is because I have constituents in my district who've told me about their vaccine injury, and because we have activist groups from all areas of the state who are concerned and plugged in that tell me what to do. So the whole political thing of representative government, it doesn't always work the way that it's described in civics class, but in a lot of ways it does. That your political leaders can only go so far as you encourage them. And that's true for city council people. That's true at the county level. Hypothetically, that's true in the sheriff's office and the county attorney's office, and judges are elected in Iowa. So, let's be model citizens where we actually understand how our government works. That's what was so embarrassing to me as a political leader when I learned that I had no idea about the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. I had no idea about the VAERS reporting system or the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. I had no idea those things existed, and I thought I was an informed citizen. So not everyone needs to be a legal scholar on, these constitutional authorities or how these laws came to be, but everyone at least needs to know who their city councilor is, and everyone at least has the responsibility to tell the governor how to represent them. And I think we overcomplicate things. So the simpler, the better. That's why, hey, governor, thanks for believing in freedom. That's all it takes. And then if you want to, maybe next week you're more inspired to write something drawn out about why you think it's totally offensive for your kid to wear a mask in public school and ask her to intervene on your behalf, then you can write a paragraph or two and keep it short and concise. And make sure if you are making any claims that you can back them up with a reference or a scientific, reference or bookmark or whatever. Just become really effective, forthright communicators who are engaged with their government. And that's the minimum required if we're going to have any shred of freedom left by next year.
Thank you for that, because some of our in the health freedom movement and the ones making the phone calls to legislators, getting people involved is like it's a hard part.
Well, then going back to why it's so tough for legislators to take a stand. Some of this is because how do you get that 100% resolution? And these topics are so tough. We don't have PhDs in microbiology. We haven't studied vaccine science for years and years. We don't have six-figure annual salaries as public health lobbyists. So that's basically what these lawyers do. These lawyers are paid six figures to speak authoritatively, and they could be completely full of crap, but they speak with confidence. And that's the thing where people are afraid to speak up because these topics are extremely intimidating. And we need to be able to get outside of our comfort zone. We need to be willing to kind of make mistakes. Don't expect perfection of yourself. I certainly haven't been perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and I'm reminded of that all the time. And then we use that as an opportunity to improve. So approach that the same way. But the thing is, just speak from your heart and speak what's true. And that's what we need in the world more than anything, is this truthful expression from that place of love, from that place of upliftment, from that place of wanting the sincerest, genuine health for everyone. That's in your heart, that's in your soul. Speak that truthfully into the world, because that's what the world's missing right now, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with those who are more interested in corporate interest, and we're talking about the bureaucrats are there. Let's move on to education here for a moment. You have a really great idea about people worried about sending their children to public school, and then the public school's responsibility to educate our kids. You have been talking about giving families like $5,000 per student to educate their own children at home, because schools aren't going to be as willing to do it, or something that you said that was more key than what I'm capturing here?
Someone said my audio. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear
Is my
my
audio-
audio on your phone. Yeah.
Okay, so you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so the question is on school finance. When I ran for elected office, I knew that public schools were financed by tax money. I had very idea on the intricacy of school finance. But basically, yeah, so your local public school is going to be funded by local property taxes, by state income tax, by state sales tax, by federal monies, and also by what the $3.5 billion appropriation from the general fund, which amounts to the state cost per pupil. So right now, there's extreme dissatisfaction in a lot of different school districts. Interest in homeschooling is through the roof. And so the idea is, how do you allow the financial education dollars to actually be allocated efficiently? How do you allocate education dollars to where they can actually build a learning environment that's best suited for each and every individual student? And we have a very diverse, kids are diverse. Not only among age and grade, but I mean, we have dyslexic students, we have the individual education program, kids with neurological disorders, different behaviors, different passions, in-person learners, audio learners, people who do well online, people who don't do well online. So every kid is unique, and the goal is to ignite the passion of learning within them so they become lifelong learners and can get excited about their education and actually learn something rather than just regurgitate. Anyway, so the school finance nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, and this is the thing, I think these are very modest compromise proposals. These are very modest compromise proposals. But for example, and there's been several different legislative proposals. The one that I wrote, and so if you take the total budget of Fairfield Community School District and divide that by the number of pupils, you equal somewhere around $18,000 per pupil. If you take the infrastructure property tax levies out of that, you get closer to $12,000 per pupil. 7,000 of that then would be roughly, I'm using rough figures, would be the state cost per pupil, which would follow. So the 7,000 state cost per pupil, that's the money that follows the kid if you open enroll, and that's the money that the district loses if you take your kid into homeschool. Now, there's also that number is weighted. So if some school districts have homeschool programs where they might get a partial, I think 30% of that 7,000 if you do, the online homeschooling or homeschooling enrolled through the school district. So the idea is, if you have a lot of parents that are dissatisfied and they're not getting an education experience or just opportunity, and we hear this all the time, that, I have a special needs kid and the school district is unable or unwilling or uninterested in fulfilling, what is specified in the IEP. And the IEP is essentially a contract between the parent and the district. So if the school district's violating an IEP, that's a serious problem. So what could possibly solve this? Well, one solution is you could just take the state cost per pupil, and I think in my bill, I said 80%. So you would, let's just round down, you could take 5,000 of that 7,000, give the 5,000 to a dedicated education savings account that's in the name of the kid with the parents as the custodian, and you basically allow them to spend that money on any individual instruction that they want. And that could be as creative. There's so much learning in the world. A parent could use that money to give their kid piano lessons or dance lessons or take an educational trip to the state park, go camping, visit the aquarium. And this money could roll over. So let's say first grade little Timmy only spends $3,000 on first grade. Well, then second grade, the remainder's gonna roll over, and he'll start second grade with $7,000 in his account. Now let's say you get additional, maybe he's able to complete second grade with, and just imagine if that money keeps rolling over and then it gets dispersed to the kid among achievement. So imagine you're a 17-year-old high school graduate, and in your education savings account, you have $10,000 left over that you could somehow apply to higher education, invest in a business, or just use that for your leisure because you're an 18-year-old kid and you want to find yourself and know who you are in the world. So the idea is creating flexibility in financial resources so education dollars can be used in a maximum efficient fashion that'll actually allow students to invest in an education that ignites their passion for learning rather than just staring at the clock waiting for the seconds and the minutes to go down until they can go to lunch or go to football or whatever. So that's kind of the idea, is that and when I say that, okay, the local school district is spending $18,000 per kid, everyone's like, oh, no way it can be that much money. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of money. And that's why the teachers unions, and this was crazy. So they'll screech at this proposal and say, oh, how dare you take money away from the public schools, right? So these teachers are refusing to show up and do their jobs. And how dare I take money away from the school districts that are refusing to even teach and educate these kids? Well, wait a minute. If I only take let's say one kid takes advantage of this education savings account, and instead of the $7,000 going to the school district, the $5,000 goes to the parent. Well, that means there's a $2,000 remainder that can kick back into the overall formula, and boom, we've just increased the total dollars per pupil for everyone left in the public program. So this formula, my proposal, when I get everything ironed out and drafted and communicated in a nice way, I will argue that every kid who takes advantage of this education scholarship account will actually raise the total per pupil spending per student for everyone else in the public school system. And of course, the teacher, they're still going to hate this idea because they view the communist mindset is that public education is a monopoly and no one else is allowed to educate a kid except for a state-sanctioned bureaucrat. So we need to dismantle that system, and we need to explain school finance in a way. And that's the thing. So I'm working. That's what I've been trying to do for the last year, because we have. But even our private institution, one of the best private institutions in the state, in Fairfield, they instituted a mask mandate, and parents are taking their kids out. So whether it's helping our private schools, chartered schools, we have a wonderful Waldorf K through 2 school. Yeah, these people need money. And imagine if all of a sudden, imagine if it was only $2,500 for an education account. 10 parents, 10 students could easily pool that together and create an amazing classroom experience for that year. So yeah, a lot of things we can do, and I'll continue talking until my phone runs out of battery, which is coming up. But yeah,
Well,
did I explain that well? Well, so my campaign success is going to be based on, can I explain this idea well that voters can actually understand it, or are they going to listen to the shrieking violets or whatever you call these teachers that are sending their obituaries? These teachers sent their obituaries that this virus is going to kill them on a virus that the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics has a 99% success rate. So I don't understand how these teachers are so, imbecile or idiotic. What's the right word? I don't want to insult the irresponsible, ideologically motivated. And I flipped my gourd in April. I stopped giving an F on April 29th when I tweeted that coronavirus is less dangerous than the HPV vaccine. And it was because I just realized that none of this had anything to do about health. It was all political posturing. It was all political ideology. And it was about, exercise of political power over people. So, yeah. Anyway, the whole system's trashing down. This is a time of great transformation on the planet. Like you mentioned earlier, step away out of fear. Don't be afraid, because God loves us and we are healthy,
And realize that the shadowy stuff has a purpose. This stuff has to come to light in order for it to be corrected.
Well, I love this too, that even just by speaking the truth about something, speaking the truth is a causal force. That's why something I want to pursue in my local school board. And hey, this is a great idea, Joni. Take this and do this. You can screen food for glyphosate. Glyphosate, obviously, industrial residue associated with, is a very popular herbicide that is likely in a lot of different foods. You could screen school food for glyphosate for as little as a couple $1,000s. So the school board could easily swing that expense, or even the public could easily finance that. All you would need to do, and I had a bill on this and it didn't go anywhere, so I was encouraged to pursue it at the local level. But if you're really curious, if the school district is really serious about protecting the health of their students, they should at least spend a little bit of money to figure it out what it is that we're actually feeding them and what possible sources of contamination exist that could be disrupting their immune system.
I love that.
That could be making COVID more severe. And instead of asymptomatic mild cases, we're having more severe cases because maybe our immune system is disrupted by these toxic herbicides that are in the food that we're serving to kids. So, yeah, anyone could take that idea up. And if you don't know your school board member, you should introduce yourself to them and say, hey, would you be willing to screen the school food for glyphosate? I hear there's a great lab in Fairfield that would do it at a very minimal cost. And this is the thing, speaking the truth about, so all we want to know is just this symbolic, I just want to know what's in there, symbolically, I want to know, like, what's the truth? What's the data? Just tell the truth about how much glyphosate is in the food. Right. And once that truth is known, then, people will decide to make different decisions. So I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out when we talk about like the big shadow stuff and a lot of the things where people are getting depressed and overwhelmed. And I had a poor woman message me like, oh, I'm so depressed. I've been drinking alcohol again because the world's ending. It's like, well, yeah, but don't drink alcohol about it, because just speak the truth. And then speaking the truth could be enough. It literally could be enough to untangle all these different webs of deception. And it could be enough to get the universe. Because, there is a self-regulating thing to everything in the world, and it's not just human beings. God's in control. So keep that in mind, too, that you don't have we need to make it simpler. It could be a lot easier than we're making it out in our heads. We just need to speak the truth. Speak the truth about Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and speak the truth about all the people they blackmailed. And naturally, these systems will lose power, right? Maybe. Right. I don't know. It's better than not speaking the truth, so.
Yeah. Well, I've looked at what we've got going on statewide. I know that when I lived in Illinois, a portion of the funding that schools got for vaccines were dependent on how many children got vaccinated. For sure whether or not that's happening in Iowa. Did it freeze? Have we reached
threshold? Did we reach our threshold? Continue without guest. Because it's frozen. All right, so it's frozen. I don't know if you can hear my audio or not. I'm going to try to get Jeff on so we could say goodbye. We have run over our time, and that's okay. We kind of knew that would happen. And then we are also looking at maybe even doing another Health Freedom Iowa interview with Jeff once I get up and running back into our usual studios. Yes, I know. I think, hi DS, thank you so much. I think what happened is there was some feedback on Jeff's phone because I was on speakerphone, and it interacted somehow with all of our live connection. Let me see if I can get him back just one more time so we can celebrate having some time with Jeff Shipley this evening. It's been an amazing conversation. And what I was talking about is a portion of the money going to the school districts being funded by pharmaceutical industry money for every student vaccinated. So you pull a student out of a public school, and they're also going to lose out on some of that money. And I don't know what Iowa is. I just moved here a couple of years ago, and so I'm still getting kind of caught up on what the history has been in Iowa with regards to money that's funded through pharmaceutical companies, that trickles down to the public health department, that trickles down to the school. So let me see if I can get Jeff back on here one more time to say goodbye. Jeff Shipley, maybe your phone died. I know he said his battery was running out, but I love this idea, you guys, of having your school food tested at an independent lab in Fairfield for a couple of $1,000s. And I think we all need to go to our school boards for that issue. I think we need to really get more involved with knowing who our school board members are, getting involved legislatively, just really reaching out and saying, hey, to the people in your area. You know, Jeff is a great leader in his district, in District 82 in Iowa, but that should be the standard, in my opinion. Jeff should be the standard for caring about his constituents, and every political leader in our state and, you know, in our country, of course, should care that much about the issues that are concerning to their constituents, and we should be represented appropriately. And if we aren't, then we get those people out of there. I'm going to hang out here for another few minutes and wait for Jeff. If I don't hear back from him, make sure you follow him. I do have his email. He is running for re-election November 3rd. So if you are in District 82 and you like what you hear, then vote Jeff Shipley back in. peaceloveiowa.com. And you can also, we dropped his email and his link to his bio at the Iowa House of Representatives in the comments, so you can scroll through there as well. I think that's all that I have for right now, but I really love his idea on the educational individual savings account, and then also the glyphosate testing in our foods. More to come with Jeff Shipley when we're able to get him back on. I want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your interaction. And thank you so much for caring about health freedom, because this is what we do together. This is how we educate our legislators. It's how we educate those who are in places of authority in our life and in our communities. Ultimately, you are your own authority. You are your own sovereign being. It's easy to stay out of fear when you no longer allow false narratives to affect how you see the world. So I'm sending you so much love tonight. Thank you so much for, joining us, and, support the people who are being the voices for your health freedoms. And ultimately, remember that you can take charge of your health and healing all from home. It all starts with you. It's possible, and we are here to help. Head over to healthfreedomiowa.org to find out more about us and what we're doing in our organization. You can become a member. You can donate. There's annual memberships, there's monthly memberships, and we just greatly appreciate all of your love and support during this time. Anytime you need encouragement, great cheerleaders. So just reach out to us. You can always send us a message here on Facebook, on Instagram, or you can get a hold of us, healthfreedomiowa@gmail.com. Lots of love to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a beautiful and wonderful night. I'll talk to you soon. See you next week at 8 p.m. Central for Health Freedom Iowa Live. Talk to you soon.